Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the mel0n Review. Today we're going to be checking out X-RayPad's newest set of grips, their new Chameleon Grips, which are also known as the X-RayPad Track Rush Grips. Now, X-RayPad has grown quite the repertoire of grips over the past couple of years, the most notable being the Cicada Wing 2.0s and the Gecko 2.0s, and now we have another contender in the mix with the Chameleon Grips. Now, these Chameleon Grips do have a very unique feature, but the big question about these grips is how they perform against the stellar benchmarks set by the Cicada Wing 2.0s and the Geckos 2.0. So today in this video, we're going to find out how good these grips actually are. Now, before we get into it, I wanted to say a big thank you to X-RayPad, who was kind enough to send the Chameleon Grips over for review. As always, regardless of a free discount unit or affiliation with a brand, reviews here on the channel will always be unbiased. And if you enjoyed the video and want to see more reviews like this, be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. I'll also be covering X-RayPad's latest Origins Pro mousepad in the coming weeks, so get subscribed so you don't miss that video coming out very soon. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, the Chameleon Grips retail from X-RayPad for around $15.99 USD, but just like all X-RayPad products, if you buy directly from X-RayPad, they're quite cheap, coming in more around the $8.99 USD mark. As of the recording of this video, there are only two kits available for the Chameleon Grips, one for the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro / V3 Wired, and another one for the Logitech G Pro X Superlight V1 and V2. More kits will be available in the future. In terms of what's included, we have two sets of alcohol wipes, an instruction sheet like the ones we saw with the previous X-RayPad Cicada Wing grips and the Geckos grips, and then we also have the pre-cut sheet of the Chameleon Grips here. This is the DeathAdder V3 Pro / Wired kit. Now, one thing I wanted to note here, as I talked about when I covered the previous X-RayPad Geckos 2.0 grips, X-RayPad has updated the pre-cut and universal kits to include more useful pieces. So the Chameleon Grips come with an extra 4 little hex pads and 4 of these little square pads in addition to the pre-cut pieces. This is a great attention to detail, as you can use the extra pieces on other mice or keyboards, which is a really nice thing to see included, and a great update here from X-RayPad. And now, in terms of the installation, as we've seen with all of X-RayPad's previous grip tape, the installation is incredibly easy. All you have to do is wipe down the mouse with one of the included alcohol wipes, and then you can place the grips onto their respective positions on the mouse itself. The Chameleons are using the same 3M adhesive I've seen all the other X-RayPad grips use, so they anchor themselves very well to any mouse surface. Now, the Chameleon grips are on the thinner side, similar to the X-RayPad Cicada Wing 2.0 grips, so when you install them, be careful, as they likely will warp if you pull on them too hard. So if you install them incorrectly and pull the grips off, they may warp. I didn't have any issues with warping when I went to install mine, but I've gotten pretty good at installing grips. But just keep in mind, if you put them on incorrectly, they may warp a little bit on the sides, so just take your time when you are installing them onto the unit for the first time. Now, the big feature here on the X-RayPad Chameleon Grips is that, as you might have guessed due to their naming, is that these are the first ever variable temperatured color changing mouse grips. Inside the mouse grips themselves, there is a thin layer of thermal coloring that, depending on the temperature they are exposed to, will change their appearance, revealing the hidden designs here on the Chameleon Grips. I never would have thought of putting color changing tech inside of grips, but X-RayPad went ahead and did it, and it actually looks really cool, so it's a really neat thing they've done here. Now, for the most part, the grip's thermal coloring won't activate at room temperature unless it's very warm. Most of the time, it will need heat from your hands or fingers to activate, but only in the areas you make contact with. Now, color changing grips is cool and all, but what really matters here with the grips is, of course, their grip performance. Now, when I first saw these, and based off the product description on X-RayPad's website and their appearance, I had a feeling these were the Cicada Wing 2.0 grips, just a slightly altered version of that. And I reached out to X-RayPad, and it turns out I was actually correct. The Chameleon Grips are just a variation of the X-RayPad Cicada Wing 2.0 grips. They have the exact same grip. The Chameleons just have the extra thermal layering inside the grips themselves. So this means that in terms of grip performance, we're going to get the exact same stellar performance that we got on the Cicada Wing Grips 2.0 here on the Chameleons. The only difference is that the Chameleons are going to be ever so slight thicker than the 0.22 millimeter Cicada Wings, maybe by 0.02 or 0.04 millimeters. Now, the Chameleon Grips have the exact same natural stickiness as the Cicada Wing 2.0s had. They stick to skin a perfect amount where it's easy to grip but not too difficult to pull away from. They're also very good with sweatier hands. I myself have pretty sweaty hands, and even when the Chameleon Grips were exposed to a lot of moisture, they still gripped incredibly well, which is great to see. The only real other difference between the Chameleons and the Cicada Wing 2.0s, from what I can tell, is that there's going to be a ever so slight textural difference between the two, where the color changing parts and the red decals here on the Chameleon Grips are slightly raised from the surface. This is what's causing that extra slight bit of a difference in the height between the grips, but again, it's extremely minimal. This also means that the Chameleons won't have the 100% skin-like texture that the Cicada Wing 2.0s have, but from my experience, this has no impact on the performance. Overall, the performance is great, and this thermal color changing tech here in the Chameleon Grips is really unique and eye-catching eye-catching. The only real downside with the Chameleons is that they have the same issues with reusability as the Cicada Wing 2.0s, where due to their 0.22mm thickness or approximate thickness, reusability is quite poor as the grips tend to warp when removed. The warping really only happens when the grips have been on the mouse for a while from my experience, but you won't be able to move the Chameleon grips from one mouse to another like you could with the thicker Geckos 2.0 grips. But aside from the poor reusability on the Chameleons, they are still a very solid set of mouse grips with the added benefit of the color changing design. It is really cool. They just suffered the same reusability issues as the Cicada Wing 2.0s. Alrighty, well, in closing, overall the X-RayPad Chameleon grips are a really cool set of grip tape. They're not as good as the X-RayPad Geckos 2.0 in my opinion, but the Chameleons are still a very solid performing grips that have a really unique ability of having this color changing tech inside them, which is really cool to see. I would love to see X-RayPad experiment with other styles, like making a solid cover grip tape that changes to different colors and different designs whenever it's exposed to heat. That would be something kind of cool to see because they could do a lot of really unique things with this. Maybe they could make a set of grip tapes that whenever you put heat on, that turns to a melon texture, but that'd be kind of cool to see. But I mean, I'm a little biased to that, but there's a lot of really cool stuff they could do with this tech in the future. If you'd like to learn more about the X-RayPad Chameleon grips or pick up a set for yourself, I will have the Chameleon's product pages linked down in the video description for you. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the mel0n Review. Thanks again to X-RayPad for sending out the Chameleons over for a review. I really appreciate that. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and get subscribed to the channel here. As I mentioned earlier, I will have a review of X-RayPad's new X-RayPad Origins Pro mousepad coming out in a couple weeks, so be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss that video. If you'd like to support the channel, you can become a member here on YouTube. It is only $2 per month, and that is the best way to directly support the channel. You can also support me by using my affiliate codes and links over at MetKeys, Lethal Gaming Gear, Raven Mousepads, TJ Exclusives, Potent Gaming Gear to save a little bit of money off your order and directly support the channel. And if you're interested in checking out another video, check out my review of the X-RayPad Geckos 2.0. They're a thicker, grippier version of the Cicada Wing 2.0s that have significantly better reusability, but same stellar performance. So you guys can go check that video out if you want. It'll be at the end of this video. But that's all for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode of the mel0n Review. Peace.